Stand-up has exploded in recent years. There's some pressure for comedians to find their lane and stick to it.
If I really leaned into being, the hearing aid guy, I could really, capture that market. But at what cost? I have to explore more beyond it just to be artistically fulfilled.
Stand-up comedian DJ Demers begins a U.S. tour in December. Elizabeth Blair, NPR News.
This is Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Layla Falded.
And I'm Rob Schmitz.
And I'm Janae Pierre. You're listening to WNYC. Good morning. It's 6:50, and it's nice to have you with us. Marketplace Morning Report is next, and later on Morning Edition, a Colorado judge ruled yesterday that a college volleyball team is eligible to play in their conference tournament with their full team. The ruling denied a lawsuit asking to bar one young woman from playing because she might be transgender. We'll have more on that, plus all the latest news from NPR and the WNYC newsroom, so stay close. 53 degrees, cloudy skies. There's a chance of rain this morning. Expect highs around 58 degrees.
WNYC supporters include Suffs, the Broadway musical about the women who devoted their lives to the right to vote. Their story is a reminder that the glass ceiling isn't going to shatter itself. Suffs, on Broadway through January 5th only. Tickets at suffsmusical.com. Sponsoring WNYC means reaching hundreds of thousands of engaged and discerning listeners who've made our shows part of their daily routine. Find more on sharing your business message with WNYC's unique audience at wnyc.org/sponsorship.
New day, new tariff threat.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Total Wine and More. With so many bottles to choose from, Total Wine helps make it easy to find everyone's favorite. Drink responsibly. Be 21.
From Marketplace, I'm Sabri Benishore, in for David Brancaccio. President-elect Donald Trump says on his first day in office, he will put tariffs on goods coming from China, Mexico, and Canada. Those three countries are the largest U.S. trade partners. Canada buys the most U.S. exports, followed by Mexico, followed by China. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer has more.
Trump says after he's sworn into office on January 20th, he'll sign an executive order putting a 25% tariff on all products coming into the U.S. from Mexico and Canada. In a post on Truth Social, Trump says the tariffs will remain in place until Canada and Mexico stop the flow of drugs, such as fentanyl, across the border and end what he calls the invasion of, quote, illegal aliens, referring to undocumented immigrants. The tariffs Trump's threatening would appear to violate the terms of the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, negotiated and signed by Trump during his first term. It allows tariff-free trade for many products. In another Truth Social post, Trump said he would sign a second executive order charging China an additional 10% tariff. Trump says China never followed through on promises to execute drug dealers who smuggle fentanyl into the U.S. In posts on Blue Sky, Ernie Tedeschi, director of economics at the Yale Budget Lab, says Trump's threats would raise the average effective tariff rate in the U.S. to the highest point since 1946. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
On Wednesday, the Census Bureau will report just how much we as a country spent on imports and how much we earned on exports for the month of October. One U.S. export that has been increasing in recent months is soybeans, mostly because soybeans are getting cheaper. In fact, soybean prices have been falling for more than 2 years now. The reason? Good old supply and demand. Marketplace's Justin Ho reports.
Soybean supplies are up because soybean production is up. And soybean production is up because of China.
The amount of soybeans that China needs to purchase daily is just mind-boggling. Like, your jaw drops.
That's Naomi Bloom with Total Farm Marketing. Thing is, China slapped retaliatory tariffs on American soybean exports during the Trump administration. So it's been buying more soybeans from other countries, especially Brazil, where soybean production has exploded.
Ultimately, they are just the world's biggest supplier of soybeans right now, and their biggest customer is China.
Bloom says China is still buying American soybeans, but Scott Irwin, an agriculture economist at the University of Illinois, says American farmers are in a tough spot. They can sell their soybeans now at today's low prices or wait and face the risk that the next administration starts another trade war with China, which could push prices even lower.
I talk to a lot of farmers on a regular basis, and I've described them as nervous as cats on a hot tin roof.
Either way, Irwin says he expects that in 2024 and in 2025, the soybean business will not be profitable for farmers. I'm Justin Ho for Marketplace.
All right, let's do the numbers. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ futures are all up in the 1 to 0.2% range, with the Dow futures up 60 points.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Schwab. With Schwab investing themes, people can invest in ideas they believe in, like artificial intelligence, renewable energy, pet passion, and more. Over 40 themes to choose from. More at schwab.com.
Bitcoin, the digital asset, has reached record high after record high since the presidential election. That is in part because people expect that President-elect Donald Trump will be especially supportive of cryptocurrency. In recent days, the price of Bitcoin almost reached $100,000. This morning, it's trading below $94,000. Stacey Marie Ishmael is an executive editor at Bloomberg News who focuses on cryptocurrencies and other digital payments. She spoke with my Marketplace colleague David Brancaccio about how digital currencies are weaving their way into politics.
You look at 100,000 for a Bitcoin, and people draw a line to Donald Trump's election victory. He's pro-crypto. I mean, Kamala Harris wasn't anti-crypto. She was talking about investments in that sector. But what is the connection? Like, why would you buy a Bitcoin now that you know that Donald Trump's the next president?
Bitcoin, crypto, digital assets more broadly have been perceived for a really long time as what we in finance like to call risk assets. And that means they are riskier than certain other types of financial transactions you could engage in, but also that they tend to have a lot more volatility embedded in them. And one of the first things that, President-elect Trump has said he would do is increase the friendliness of the regulations that govern risk assets like crypto, which means, if you think that that's going to go through and it's going to be super smooth, the environment is going to be overall more conducive to speculation. It's going to be less difficult for certain people to engage in, highly leveraged transactions or essentially borrow money to borrow more money to make a speculative bet. And that has people thinking, okay, good, this is the right time to buy because the price is likely to go up from here.
There was also talk during the campaign from the Trump side about some kind of strategic petroleum reserve, but for crypto. What did you make of that?
Yes, that was one of the more interesting campaign promises. And it's this idea, to use your analogy, that in the same way that the US government has important supplies of oil, wheat, vaccines in some cases, they may do the same thing for Bitcoin. There are a couple of different proposals floating around that they would buy a meaningful amount of Bitcoin every single year and have that, in kind of a break glass in case of crypto emergency situation.
In the earlier years, I sometimes referred to crypto as money laundering on a stick, but it's really not anymore because authorities have figured out how to track this, and underlying these cryptocurrencies is a ledger that's very hard to falsify.
I will note that it's not that money laundering has entirely gone away. People who want to hide money from authorities or get very creative and have all sorts of ways of doing that. But it is absolutely the case that the percentage of illicit transactions, which is to say everything from money laundering to terrorist financing and back again, has declined year over year as the legitimate uses of crypto have increased.
All right. Well, this continues to be a fascinating space to watch. Stacey Marie Ishmael is executive editor of crypto and digital payments at Bloomberg News. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
In New York, I'm Sabri Ben-Achour with the Marketplace Morning Report. From 8 p.m., American Public Media.
Support